Pterodactyl here, and today's video is going to be on this here John Deere 425 with the water-cooled twin-cylinder Kindasucki engine in it, and it's got an oil leak, the oil pan gasket, so we're going to replace that. So the first thing we need to do is remove the whole front of the tractor. I got it up on these car ramps because I kind of want to hold the oil and as much of the antifreeze and stuff to the back of the motor, because I'm going to try to change this sump gasket with the engine still in the mower. I've done some of these before, but I've taken the engine out, and the only reason I had the engine out was because it needed other work, internal, so we had to pull the whole motor out. So this time I'm going to try to change this gasket, and I said try with the motor in place. So we need to remove this grill, which is real simple in case you got one of these, you don't know how to do it. There's these little clips right here. And you just turn them. And then the top here just snaps into these little pins. So that's how that comes off. Okay, next we need to remove the battery and this whole hood mount assembly, which is these 4 carriage bolts. There's 2 on each side. And then disconnect the headlights. And I'll pull this whole section off, and then we'll get to the muffin and then start tearing this thing apart. Okay, I removed the hood assembly now, and I've taken off all the hardware to hold the muffin on. 6 bolts, and I noticed we got an exhaust leak here, so since I got the muffin off, I'll weld that up. Let me look around and see if there's any other leaks anywhere. I don't see anything. We got that out of the way. Now, you know, the engine mounts to these rails here. So I'm hoping that I could just loosen up these bolts on the side, and it should give me enough to slide the sump cover off. I'm hoping. So now I got to get in here on each side and take these bolts out. But first there's a little 5/16 one over here that's holding this ground cable, because this ground cable is bolted. And here's the battery, positive battery cable. There's a clamp over here. That's holding all these wires. So I think if I get this out of the way. Like I said, I've never tried doing it this way. I usually pull the motor, or they take the motor. I've had people take the motor out. So here's that clamp for the positive. So that's out of the way. So I should be able to get in there with a wrench and loosen them bolts. What size are they? I think they're 12 millimeter. Nope. 13. I think they're 13. I think. Maybe they are 12. Nope. 13. I'm gonna have to get a socket. Oh man, well, they got them things in there that tight. Yeah. Yeah, these aren't separate mounts, engine mounts. It runs all the way from front to back. Still gonna have to drain the antifreeze out. But our oil leak is up here at the top. Because when I was running it, I was getting oil up in here. All right, so let me work on getting these 4 bolts out and then we'll go from there. Okay, I took the positive battery cable off, which, you know, just ran through this engine mount up to the starter. So that gave me some space in there to get those bolts out. Once I cracked them loose, I went in there with the battery powered ratchet, was able to get them out, and see, I can flex these out of the way. So I'm thinking what I might end up doing is maybe put a C-clamp on here, kind of hold it so there's a gap. So when I go to reinstall it, I'm not fighting it. So I noticed that this radiator hose, I don't know if you could see that, but it's got a lot of like dry rot happening. I'm sure this is the original hose, so I'll probably replace that. I don't have one, I don't think. The part number is on the hose. Looks like it's M111382. I'll look and see if I got one. If not, I'll have to get a hold of John Deere, our local John Deere dealer, see if they have one. Or I will just replace it later. But now I'm going to drain the antifreeze off. So in order to do that, over here, this is where you drain your radiator, and there's a hose. There's a hose hook to it. So I'll get a container, and we'll drain that radiator down. Probably won't have to empty it, but I just need to get it down so I can get this out. This is where the water pump and stuff is in here. Your thermostat is over here. Thermostat is on this side. There's your temperature sensor. But the water pump is on this side. So let me do that. Let me get the antifreeze drained out now. Woo! 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 I don't know, why am I barking? Woo! Woo! Barking like a dog. Woo! Woo! When I should be prancing like a deer. Should have some horns. I'm a buck. I'm in rut. Okay, so I took a pry bar and I pried back on here and I put those C-clamps down. Put those clamps on there and cranked them down. So now I got a little bit of a gap in there. So that should help me get that cover off. I drained the antifreeze out. I already took this hose off. I could tuck that out of the way. I thought I had a hose in my parts because I saw a hose up there and it said lower radiator hose. So I did have one, but it's for the vertical shaft model. This is the horizontal shaft. This is for the vertical shaft, water cooled. So I'll have to get a hold of Deere. So I loosened the clamp and then I had to take a screwdriver and get in there. Now if I had the new hose, I would have just cut it. But since I don't have the hose yet, I didn't want to cut it. So we'll get that out of the way. Tuck that out of there for now. So now I can go ahead and start removing all these bolts. And we can get this off. Another thing I'll do is I'll try to drain some of the oil out of there. I'll try to get some of it out so it don't make a mess. I laid a pad down there to catch any kind of oil or antifreeze that leaks out. But let me slurp some of that oil out of there. And I'm going to do that by taking this dipstick out. Because one of the things, when it was leaking oil and he brought it in, I noticed that this bolt was loose. So I thought, well, maybe that's all that was wrong with it, that it was leaking oil. And then I ran it some more. Looks like it's low on oil anyway. So I ran it a little more, and this is busted. So I'll probably weld a washer over that to fix that, because part of that's missing. And it's got a seal on there. And then I think I put that silicone on there because I thought maybe it was leaking from there, but no, it's leaking up here. It's hard to see, but I remember when I was running it outside, I kept mopping this oil up out of here, and then I would run it, and I'd come back the next day, and it would have oil in there. So it's this gasket. All right, let me get my oil sucker and try to suck some of that oil out before I go pulling this cover all off. Hopefully none of these bolts will bust off, because I've had that before on these water cooled. Go to take some of this hardware out. All right, that one came loose. So I'm not going to use an impact on them at first. I'm going to go around and try to loosen them by hand, just in case there's some that might be tough. Oh, that was loose. Somebody might have been in here. But I've had some of these bust off, or I've had people bring these engines in with some of these bolts busted off. All right, they seem like they're all coming loose. All right. Let me get the oil sucker and just make sure that level is down so I don't make a mess. Like elk skins. He always good at making a mess.
What?
Okay, all the bolts came out. The two bottom ones were tight. All these other ones were kind of loose. So you got two long ones in the bottom that go down here. And then you got these and these, which are all the same size. And we got this one, same size. And then we got this one on the water pump here that's real kind of long. It's the longest. So be aware of that. And then this was the bolt for the dipstick tube, which had a 10mm head on it. This bolt was for ground wires right here. All right, so take this cover off, because I know there's different length bolts in here. And I'll take them out and clean them up. So that's our water pump housing. And then we got this bolt. And where's my little rubber mallet? Give this a tippy tap. And here's our water pump. That all looks good. And where's that longer bolt I had? All right, so there's the water pump. Get that out of the way. All right. think I got all the hardware out. Pop this cover off. Oh, here comes some oil. Good thing I threw that under there. Didn't slurp it all out. I should have probably drained it before I jacked it up on here. That's all right. And here's the cover. We got the cover off. Then we get the oil slurper. Yeah, I should have probably drained the oil first. So if you're going to do this, make note, drain the oil first. So it's got the steel camshaft. The plastic camshafts were 96 and older. In case you're not sure, right here on the air filter, there's a sticker, date of manufacture, July of 98. So this one, in case you're unsure, you got one of these, you're like, oh, how do I know if I got the plastic cam? Look on that, on your air filter box and see what date it is. I forget what month it was. I want to say June of 96 is when they started putting the metal camshafts in there. I could be wrong. All right. So let's take a look at the old gasket here. Look at this. See how thin it is right there? See how it's breached here and kind of wadded up? This is where we were getting our oil leak up in here. This is where I saw that little amount of oil. So now I got to get all that old gasket off so we can put the new gasket on. Get it all cleaned up. Okay, I got all that gasket material cleaned off of there. It came off pretty easy. It's a paper gasket. It's pretty brittle because it's original from 1998. So the gasket lasted, what, 27 years before it failed? And this is important. It's all in the preparation for a good repair, especially with an oil leak. So you got to make sure you get it clean and get all the gasket material off of both surfaces, off of here and off of here. Because I've had people do that. I go, oh, just fixed it, it's still leaking. And I'm like, did you get all the gasket material off of there? And they're like, oh yeah, I cleaned it all off real good, I cleaned it. I go, well, bring it in and have me look at it. And I take it back apart and there's a big chunk of gasket material left on there. So they didn't do a good job. You got to be thorough. You got to take your time. You got to be patient. If you have no patience, you better find another hobby, because you got to have patience. So cleaned it up real good. I just used one of these with the razor blade on it. Like I said, the gasket was pretty brittle, so it came off pretty easily. Another thing. Always at the very end of the crankshaft, where the seal doesn't cover, it always leaves like a little rusty ring on there. So before you install the cover back on, I took a Scotch-Brite and I cleaned that little bit, usually from here to here. Got to get that rust off of there. You want it nice and smooth like the rest of the crankshaft here. Now one thing I got a habit of doing this too. I always forget that they always got these like rubber O-ring gaskets in there. I always forget to look them up. But this one's still pliable. So what I normally do, just to make sure it's going to seal, I'll clean this real good with carb spray or brake cleaner, get any kind of oily residue off of there, because there's also one in here. And I'll put a small amount of silicone on there. Black silicone, gray, silver silicone, which we sell in our online store. I know you're thinking, when's he going to start hawking his products that he sells? So I'll put a small amount of silicone on there. All right, so I got all the parts here, all the gaskets and seals. So let's go over all this. Now this is an FD, this engine, this Kindasucki engine, is an FD. F is in Frank, D is in dog, or is in dactyl. 620D, as in dactyl. Now if you go to John Deere, they're going to look up the engine, because I've said this before, they take the Kindasucki parts and they slap a sticker over the Kindasucki part number. So you can look up an FD620D and get the part numbers from Kindasucki. They might be a little more or less expensive than getting them through John Deere, or as I like to call them, John Doe. And you can get this sticker in our online store. I was holding it upside down. Here, the deer is alive here. It's not that, it's not. Now it is, John Doe, which you can get in our online store. Here he goes hawking all this crap. So as I was saying, you can look up all these parts. And you know a good place to look them up at? Our friends at ProPartsDirect.net. They got free online parts lookup. You can go there and look up all kinds of different models of engines and stuff if you need the part numbers for it. Then you can get the parts from them. They have probably the best prices on the internet. I know they're better than Parts Tree and Jax and some of the other ones. So go to ProPartsDirect.net. Use their online parts lookup and look up the parts for your engine or piece of outdoor power equipment that you're trying to repair. So here's the part number for this gasket. It's right there. That little tiny number. 110 61 1680. And there's the gasket. I also got a new crankshaft seal. We're going to replace that seal. There's the part number for that. I got 2 exhaust gaskets. Since we got the muffin off. And then these are for the water pump. Let me hold them the right way. Now, they upgraded these gaskets. The original ones were paper, which was bits of that here on the ground because I had to scrape it all off. Now they're graphite. So you don't need to put any type of sealer or anything on these because they're graphite. And graphite is kind of, slick. So I don't even think if you did put any kind of silicone or anything on there, it's not going to stick anyway. It's kind of pointless. And then I looked up the points. I looked up the torque specs for the bolts. Now M6, which are these 6 millimeter And usually 6mm bolts have a 10mm head for a 10mm socket. 6mm is kind of close to 1/4 inch. These are to be torqued at 88 inch-pounds. Inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds. I want to make that clear. He's going to put text in there too, so you know. Because I know some people confuse inch-pounds with foot-pounds. You try to torque these to 88 foot-pounds, you're going to snap them off. Inch-pounds, 88 inch-pounds for the 6mm. And then the 8mm bolts, these are the 8mm. They're kind of close to 5/16, what we use here in the States. But the 8mm, these are to be torqued at 18 foot-pounds. 18 foot-pounds. I want to make that clear. All right, grass rats? Okay. So I'm not going to put any kind of sealer or anything on this sump gasket. Now, if you want to, if you feel that, you want to put some kind of sealer on there, I would recommend using high-tack gasket sealer. That's the gasket sealer that's in a spray can. It's like spray paint and it's sticky. So if you do want to put some kind of sealer on there, gasket sealer, I would recommend using high-tack. But I'm not going to put anything on there because actually we don't need to. I'm only going to put that small amount of silicone just on these because this is for the oil. Going to put a small, very small amount so when I torque it down, it squishes out a little, but we don't want to block anything. So I'm just going to put a very light amount on there just to make sure. So here's our gasket. Make sure it's the right one. It's going to fit and everything. There, it's the right gasket. Oh, and I forgot another thing to mention. Oh, I just noticed that also, in your preparation, to prep everything to make sure it's all good, blow out the holes. Blow out all the threaded holes. Take your air blower and a rag, put the rag over the hole that you're getting ready to blow it out and blow it out. Make sure it's all nice and clean. Now, I looked at the service manual. And it tells you, what to do and where to put thread locker and where to do this and that. We are going to put some silicone on these water pump bolts when I go to install it. Because as you could see when I took it apart, a lot of this hardware from the water, from the antifreeze, kind of corroded and got into this. Now I took all these bolts out and I took them on the wire wheel and I cleaned them up. And again, all in the preparation. Make sure you clean all the gasket material off. So yes, we're going to do that. Yeah, here's one. Here's an example of one I didn't clean up. See, this was a bolt that went through. And you could see it got some of that antifreeze and stuff on there. That's why some of these bolts, like I was telling you earlier, I've had them come in where they wouldn't come out or they'd snap off because they were so corroded from the water getting in there. So I'm gonna clean this one up before I put it in. We're gonna put some black silicone on this bolt to kind of help protect it when we go to reassemble it. All right, so there it is. I'll pop the seal out of there. I'll put the new seal in, which is pretty simple. We'll put the gasket on. I'll put a little bit of silicone around there. We'll get that cover back on. None of this got disturbed. We don't have to worry about timing or anything being off. This isn't going to fall out on you. It's in there pretty tight. We'll put some lubricant on here. We'll put a little lubricant on there. We're going to use our gel lube, which we sell in our online store, because that's an assembly lube. It's sticky. It'll stick to the parts. So when we get it all back together and put the oil in there, at least it'll have some sticky lubricant on there until the engine oil can get in there and lubricate all the parts. All right, I'm going to pop this old seal out. And where I got a rag over here. I'll wipe this out. I got the new seal. I'm going to use my plastic mallet, tap around the edge, get it started, tap around the edge of it, and evenly knock it back in there. Now it was flush with the end of this. So you really don't need a seal driver for this. Plastic hammer though would help. Rubber mallet, piece of wood. All right. Pretty simple. There's your dinner. All right, so now I'm going to silicone these little gaskets because I should have bought new ones. And I'm going to use our black silicone that we sell in our online store and our tube gripper. If you don't have one of these tube grippers, you need to get one. Look at this. Squeezed every last ounce of silicone or whatever product you're going to put in there out. Now they come in two sizes. We got a 2-inch one and a 2.5. This is the 2.5. This is wider. So this will fit in the, any wider tubes that you may have. But it comes in a 2-inch and a 2.5. So I'm just going to put a small amount on here. You don't want to go crazy because like I said, it'll squeeze out and it may create a problem. And we'll stick that in there because this is for the oil passage. And then see, there's also a little seal on here too. This is the oil passage for the oil filter. These are oil passages. So for that one, I'm going to use a little Q-tip and I'm going to spread it around a small amount. Just as a precaution, I'm sure that this would probably seal up, but you know what? I got it apart. Might as well put a little silicone on there. Like I said, don't go crazy. We got our new seal in. Now I can take the gasket, put it on there. A little bit of oil down there. I wiped off with my finger. But that was another reason I wanted to put this on the ramps and shift everything back. Now I'll take our gel lube, which we also sell in our online store. It's an engine assembly and general purpose liquid to gel lubricant. Put a little on there and a little on there. Take your finger and wipe it around if you want. All right. And I can put the cover on. And I'm going to put a little bit, let's spray a little bit on the lip of the seal here. Now, I'm going to have to get something to turn the crankshaft a little bit because we got to get all the gears and everything to mesh. So let me grab a pair of channel locks. There we go. Turn it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So you got to give it a little Wigglesworth and get it on there. Everything's on there. Nice. That worked out nice. All right. So for the engine bolts, I'm not going to put the silicone on, just for the ones around the water pump. And then you're just going to go around and torque them in a sequence. And you're gradually going to get to that 18 foot-pounds. So you just want to go like in a cross pattern. And gradually tighten them till you get to 18 foot-pounds. We got our two long ones for in the bottom. Now again, it's up to you. If you want to put some thread locker on there, which we also sell in our online store, I would suggest blue. I know a lot of people like to use thread locker. There's nothing wrong with that. You can put thread locker on there. But again, this is 27 years old. And it just failed now. So I'm sure it'll be good for another 27 years or more. So I think this is a better gasket. This is a better gasket material they use now than they did back in '98. It looks like a better gasket. All right, so let me go around and tighten all that up. Now I've got the cover all torqued down. I fixed the dipstick. I welded that washer on there. And I even hit it with some paint because the paint was coming off. Put a little silicone on that seal there because I had that O-ring seal. I got the engine mounts bolted back on. So I've got it all bolted back together. I cleaned this up. This area here was all full of grass and everything, and I put all the cables back to where they needed to be. I put a new oil filter on it because here's the old one down here. And I filled it with some dinosaur syrup, which is oil, in case you don't know what dinosaur syrup is. So I filled it up. I put the new exhaust gaskets on here. They're all ready, so when I put the muffin back on. So we got a lot of stuff prepped and ready to go. I welded up the muffin where that leak was. So basically, the only thing left we have to do is to put these two gaskets on for the water pump. I've got all the surfaces cleaned. Got all the hardware cleaned up. Oh. Now I said I got all the surfaces cleaned. That doesn't look that clean, Taryl. You're right. Remember I said it's all in a preparation. And I don't mean preparation H. Preparation H. Even though some of these jobs feel like a hemorrhoid. You know what I mean? They're a pain in the keister. Get the preparation H out to help with that pain in the keister. I thought I went over all these, but good thing we're filming this so you can see that I'm going over all this. So we got to get this all nice cleaned up. We put the gaskets on. And again, these are graphite gaskets. They're not paper like the old ones. So these are better, improved gaskets. Now you got to get that in the mesh. Let me stand up. There we go. Would help if I took that bolt out. All right, we got that lined up. Now, just gonna put some silicone on here, just to kind of help. And I'm almost out here because we're squeezing every last drop out of this thing. Another thing is, this silicone kind of acts as thread locker too. An old trucker taught me that trick. Because once that dries and hardens, that'll help keep the, is this the right bolt? I thought we needed a long one. Maybe that one goes here. Oh, I got to put the other cover on yet, knucklehead. But that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put some silicone on these bolts. This bolt goes here. So I had a couple of them mixed up. This is where that long one goes. Yeah, there we go. So that's what I want to do. I want to put a little bit of silicone on all of them. Just to help. Because like I said, sometimes that antifreeze and stuff will get in there. Now I know somebody had this apart because there was silicone all in here. And I know why the people do that. It's because you take it apart, you want to work on it, you want to fix it. But you don't have time to go and get all the right parts for it. So you think, you know what? I'll just put some silicone on there, it'll be fine. And a lot of times that works. I've done that too. Because I want to get the job done. And then you always tell yourself, oh, I'll just go back later. And, do it right. Then you never do. And you know why you never do? Because it ain't leaking. Because you're like, well, I fixed it. It's not leaking. So I'm not going to sit there and tear it all apart and do that again. Look at this tube gripper squeezing every last bit out of this tube. Let me get it up on the neck here. Look at that, I can get even that a little bit out of there. That's what's nice about that. I know, you buy that tool It costs a little bit of money to get it, but look at the savings over time. Oh, and I got the new, I called our local John Deere dealer, who we got a good relationship here in Podunk. You know, us mower shops got to work together. And they had the new heater hose. There's the part number. See, they put the part number right there on the old hose. M111382. So I called over there this morning, and there it is, M111382. They had it in stock. So I got the new hose. So we'll put that on after I get this all bolted down. Then I'll fill it with antifreeze. We'll put the battery back in. And then, as Elkins says, fire it up, fire it up. Ah, shut up, Elkins. We'll fire it up. Check for leaks. That's what takes time. You have to have patience. All right, so I'm going to snug these down. I'm just going to go in a cross pattern here. Snug these up. Then I'm going to go back and torque them. Again, these bolts with the 10 millimeter socket head are 88 inch-pounds, did I say? Let me find my piece of paper. 88 inch-pounds. And this one, which is a 8 millimeter headed bolt, that one is going to be 18 foot-pounds. And it's 12 millimeter, and I got a 13 millimeter socket on there. Only because, here it is. Here's that 12. So I just want to go around first and get them snugged up. And then I'll go back in a little cross pattern and gradually torque these to 88 inch-pounds. And then I'll torque that to 18 foot-pounds. Got this all torqued down. Got this radiator hose hooked up. Got the new radiator hose on there. Filled it with some radiator juice. I don't know what to call it. I don't think they had antifreeze back in the prehistoric times of my ancestors, because I'm a pterodactyl. I don't know, what would you call that? T-Rex juice or something? But I filled it with antifreeze. So now I got to put the muffin on, and then I'll hook up the battery, and then we'll go from there. All right, I got it all back together, as far as we're going to go for now, because this is what you're going to want to do. You're not going to want to put it all back together until you make sure it doesn't have any leaks or anything. So I got it back together to the point where we could start it now and let it run. Now I checked the oil, made sure it was full. You're going to have to check it again because, when you do an oil change, you want to fill up the oil filter and then check it again. And then you're going to want to get it hot, and you're going to want to check the antifreeze. But again, you're not going to want to take this cap off when it's hot. So I got it full. I put some in this tank up to here. I'm going to run it for a minute. We're going to shut it off. And then I'll run it some more later outside. Make sure it doesn't have any leaks, which is what you're going to want to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the hood and everything all back on. But I want to make sure everything is good before I go doing all that. Because in case there's a problem, then I got to take that all back off again. But we got it to the point where we can run it. And it should start. And then after that, I'm going to go over some issues that these engines and these mowers have when they get some time on it. Just in case you have one of these. So I don't want to start it all the way at full throttle, so I'm going to have it at like half throttle. choke it. Woo! Woo! Put the parking brake on so I can get off of it. She's running. Woo! Woo! Now, of course, we're getting a little smoke there because there's probably some antifreeze that spilled on there when I was filling it. But we want to look for leaks. Idle it down. So I'll take it outside tomorrow and I'll run it around and make sure we don't have any leaks anywhere. But so far it looks good. Nothing is presenting itself right now as far as leaks. No oil, no antifreeze, I don't see anything. So another little trick whenever you're filling the, it didn't get hot enough so I can take this off without it shooting at me. Another thing, when you're filling it up, you can squeeze the hoses. And that'll kind of purge any kind of air out of there. Kind of give it a squeeze. Now I had it full all the way up to the top and it's down a little bit. So I'll add some more antifreeze. But that's a little trick because I filled it up and it was I kind of overfilled it a little bit. So when I squeezed on the hose, it kind of dropped the level on it. But I'll check it again tomorrow. All right, so these water-cooled Kindasuckis, they come in, you know, not too often, but when they do, these are the problems I see. One of them is this time delay module right here. Now I put a new one on this tractor. We got a video on this. These go bad. And what that is that's just a little, kind of a little safety module. And it's really designed in case you're on rough, bumpy ground and you're bouncing off the seat. It kind of has a time delay, so it doesn't shut the motor off. Like on cheaper tractors, you know, if you bounce on the seat, it kind of breaks the connection and it makes a connection again, electrical connection, where the engine shuts off and turns back on. And sometimes the engine's got to catch up and it'll backfire. Or it'll let out a big backfire, like a timing thing. That's because you're bouncing on the seat. So they have it where it's kind of has a time delay. So in case that's happening, you don't get that action. Because you'll notice when you have one of these tractors, when you shut the key off, especially if you own one of these, you'll know this. When you shut the key off, it doesn't shut off right away. It takes a second. Actually, like 2 seconds before it shuts off. And that's that time delay module. Those will go bad. When they go bad, a lot of times you'll have hard starting issues before it goes bad. And then when it totally goes bad, you'll have no spark. It'll kill the spark to the motor. So if you got one of these twin cylinder, whether it's a horizontal or a vertical shaft, water cooled, it's got to be water cooled, got to have a radiator, Kindasucki engines, these time delay modules go bad. This one went bad while it was here because he was complaining it was hard starting, and eventually it went out. So we did a little short video on that. I think we've got a couple videos on this time delay module. Another thing I see, these connectors right here. See these connectors? These two connectors? They control the ignition also. And I've had it to where these go, they don't make a good connection. And what happens is this thing will run on one cylinder, because this is for one cylinder and this is for the other cylinder. And I've had them where they come in and the thing is running on one cylinder and it's intermittent. You know, sometimes it'll be running on 2 cylinders, it'll be running on 1. Then I would come over here and wiggle on these connectors. Then all of a sudden I can hear the other cylinder kick in. And then it'll kick out. So what I normally do when that happens, instead of trying to fix it and buy the whole wiring harness and everything, I cut this connector out and I get some pull-aparts where I just plug them in. It's all color-coded so you can't mess it up. You know, the white wire goes to the white wire, the orange to the orange, the black with the white tracer. So that's another issue I see with these engines. But other than that, these twin-cylinder Kindasuckis are good engines. Oh, we got a sticker for that too. Kindasucki. Well, there you have it, grass rats. Change that oil pan gasket without having to take the engine out. Had my little trick with the C-clamps. Again, I've never done this before where I changed it like that. This is the first time. Like I said earlier in the video, I've worked on some of these motors before, but they brought them into me. I didn't have to take them out. So this is the first one where I changed it on there. And again, we've been sitting here talking. So far, so good. I don't see any leaks, but I'm going to run it again. Uh-oh. What's this? What's this here? Oh, no. What is that? There's some old gasket I scraped off. I tricked you. All right. Well, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'd be greatly appreciated. Follow me with your John Does, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Check out our web store. We got all kinds of stuff. Some of the products that we used in here today, like the gel lube and that. We got other stuff too. This is brand new. We got these. This is a sweatshirt. And boy, am I toasty warm. And you know where this would look good? On you. Taryl fixes all. Sweatshirt. You need to get one. Winter's coming. You want to stay nice and toasty warm while you're working on your mower, grass rat, or you're out there picking up your leaves. And this hat. We got this hat too. Spark plug necklace. All kinds of stuff there. Go check it out. There's something there for you. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! Woo! Working on the twin cylinder. Kindasucki. Fix the oil leak. All cleaned up, ready to go. Now all I need is Murphy to come and pick it up. Come get your mower, Murphy. Come on. Get in your car. Drive and come get it.